Well, I was invited to come and tell a little bit about my story and then answer questions. One thing, I know there are candidates for city council that will be speaking, so I'm going to be leaving. The city charter doesn't allow city staff to be involved in political events and those kind of things. So I'll be leaving after I speak, so if it's okay, I'll take questions after I speak, but not at the end. So you mentioned I'm from South Texas, Soledad Valle, Mercedes, Texas, on the border. My mom was from Mexico. My dad's family was in Texas when it was Mexico. Goes all the way back to 1720 or so on my dad's side. My mom actually met my dad because my aunt, her sister, cleaned my grandmother's house. And my dad would give her a ride back to the border, and that's how she met my mom. So I know about immigrants. I have family in Mexico. I can say everybody's an immigrant, more or less, except for Native Americans. So I went to Texas Tech, graduated from Mercedes High School back in the 80s. Went to Texas Tech undergrad on a scholarship. Then finished school there, met my wife at college. We ended up marrying after we were out of college, but then I went to University of North Texas, and I started the MPA program at University of North Texas, which is a Master's of Public Administration. I've been in local government or building things and helping communities build for the last 32 years or so. I started grad school in 1992 and started working with the city of Carrollton as an intern. Then I worked there for a couple of years, and then I ended up in Fort Worth when I finished school. I've been in Fort Worth since 1994. I'd like to say that Fort Worth was half its size and it grew because I showed up. Also, the tax rate when I showed up in Fort Worth was 97.5, so 97.5 cents, and now it's dropped about over 30 cents since then, and I like to take credit for that. A city manager, as the mayor has actually said a few times that I've spent the last 30 years training for this job. And so what I want to do is really, I know the vast majority of the staff in the city knows me. I know them. I've been spending my time the last 10 days really meeting with council members, meeting with department heads, getting to know what's going on, of course, preparing for the meetings, the city council meetings. But what I'd like to do is really try to pull the city organization all going the same way to those goals that the city council has set, the community wants to have, and then open up and have conversations with the community, be more involved in meetings, getting feedback on those things that we're trying to achieve. And I really want to hear from the community. The city's in the middle of a comprehensive plan, and that's important. They've had they started, then they slowed down, they're starting again. We're going to reorganize that a little bit, go back out to the public, get community input. We want you all to participate. It's more than just a land use plan. It's got to be more about what the community wants to see in the different parts of town and wants to see how the growth will continue. Fort Worth is growing so fast, and a lot of the growth is happening outside of Fort Worth with all these new special districts that the state legislature has allowed. And that's going to be putting pressure on the city when all those folks bring us, they're building communities of 5,000, 10,000 homes, but they all work in Fort Worth. So the traffic on I-30, the traffic on 35, all the traffic spilling into on 199 is just going to get worse and worse. So a big thing for the community and for the people of Fort Worth is to unite and to push TxDOT, to push the state, to send dollars to Fort Worth, to this district, to help widen roads, to help bring transit, those kind of things. And I think it's going to be important that's a major push. The other push, the thing you're going to see from what I want to start with some of the departments, how many of y'all are familiar with our courts? The courts go out to communities to have a mobile community meeting for folks that have tickets and warrants and those kind of things. Meet with judges. So the city's been doing that for about 5 or 6 years, where they'll go out to a neighborhood, they'll send letters to everybody that has a warrant because they can pay tickets and they're afraid to go pay it, it's too expensive. And they'll meet with the judges in a van there, or a table, and they'll actually have them enter into either a community service or a payment plan or even a waiver, depending what it is. So I'd like to start doing that with other services. I'd like to have code compliance go out and go to a neighborhood with tools and do a block, sweep with the folks that live in the community to help clean up, homes, elderly homes where they have to mow the yards. Arlington, the new code compliance director, in Arlington's had a program that he's going to bring here, and I want to support that, is where the city actually has tools that you can rent for free. To mow the yard, to cut grass, to cut limbs, and we'll bring it to you. It'll be a delivery service. And you rent it for the weekend, then they'll come back on Monday and pick it up. So we're starting that out with the neighborhood improvement program. This year, it's going to be one of that's offered that's in the south side at Rosemont, the neighborhood improvement program that's currently going on. We're starting as a pilot just because there weren't dollars put into this budget for that, but that's one of the items we're going to use out of that budget. But as we go forward, I'd like to start continuing to grow that. And we'll start with certain areas of town and then hopefully grow it over time where it's something that folks can get. It's to keep code, so that code compliance can offer a solution when they come out and not just start off with tickets. And we can turn that around, get the community involved. And then finally, one of the things with city staff is I'd like to get city staff really focused on delivering customer service. So if you're dealing with city staff, and I think we have some of the greatest people in any city working for us. If you're dealing with city staff and you're not being treated the way you think you should, please reach out. Call the city manager's office, I'll take your notes, we'll get it to the right place. I'll get inundated, but I want the staff to know that it's important to me, that it's important to the city manager's office, that it's important to the directors that we have customer service and that we're working for the community. So with that, I'll take any questions that you might have. If anybody wants to know anything more detailed. Got one back there. Over here. Yes, sir.
Buenos dias and congratulations on your new position. I'm wondering if you could speak to the federal funding, any federal funding that the city of Fort Worth might be receiving, and with the new administration's proposed cuts, they're looking for $2 trillion to cut from the budget that could potentially impact the city of Fort Worth. What do you propose? What do you think might be the impact of significant large federal cuts on the city of Fort Worth?
Okay, yeah, that's a really complicated question because we don't really know yet, right? At the end of the day, the practical side of things, I think there's probably going to be some cuts. We don't know exactly where, and I think it might not be cuts. It might be more of a conditions that are placed on the money coming down, right? There's lawsuits going on right now, as mentioned, like on the immigration birthright. Judges are stopping these things from getting put into place. I'll give an example. The city was announced that we received $1 million grant from HUD to do an environmental plan for Echo Heights area. We've been awarded verbally and paper-wise awarded the grant, but the dollars aren't there yet because there's a hold on the dollars, right? And the idea is that the new administration is going through and reviewing all the dollars that are coming out in certain areas. And so we don't know exactly what we're going to get, and we don't know exactly what policies we may have to change in the city in order to be able to award the grant. You know that I think everybody knows that this administration wants to get rid of just the term DEI, right? The diversity inclusion. We have a DEI department. We may need to have to change the DEI department some so that that term doesn't exist, and how they actually conduct their work may need to change to meet the conditions from the federal government so that we can continue to reach grants if that goes forward. I'll just give you an example, and that's just an example because we don't know exactly what's going to happen. It's an easy example. But at this point, we don't know. So far, other than that grant, which we never received before, so it's not really something that we were expecting to necessarily 100% we get. So far, we have not had any grants stop that were here. The other part of it is I think there's a long process for this to actually happen because Congress controls the purse strings. And so that I think at the end of the day, Congress is, they might hold it up, but Congress is going to have to act and actually change the rules or change the laws in order to make something different happen. So I think a lot of this makes everybody nervous, makes us nervous. Right? We have several hundred employees at the city that are paid with federal grants, and they do critical jobs, everything from police officers to folks that are going and doing weatherization and rehab on homes and those kind of things. And so every day our folks are looking, the folks involved, trying to figure out what exactly the impact's going to be. So we're staying on top of that. That's the best answer I can give you.
My name is Spino. I grew up in the north side, now I'm in the west side. I started teaching under our great Tony Martinez's leadership. He helped me in my first year where I struggled. But I want to say thank you for your job. Thank you, Tony, for your help and service all these years. My questions have to do with projects. So we know we have this DEI buzzword, but in the past, you used to award contracts and bid out to different groups to do projects. So my understanding was they used to try to, prefer minority contractors or minority-owned businesses, maybe even including women as well. So now with our new administration, how is that going to change? And then what are we going to do to curb wasteful spending? So those are my two questions. Thank you.
So on the first question, we're not changing anything yet. So we still have an MDE office. We're still following the existing law, current law that's really under that area was created through law by the Congress, but also through a lot of lawsuits that came in, judges and orders and those kind of things. So we're not changing that whatsoever until so that's what I'm getting at. Just because there's a written notice, the law's still in place, so we're following the law. And so that's what we're doing. Unless the city council wants to change that whole policy, that's a different story. But right now we're following the law, we're following the city ordinance. And the city ordinance governs the MPE side. Your second question about wasteful spending, I'd like to know what you think is wasteful spending. I'd like to know where you all see waste so that I can address that. That's why I want to curb it. Hopefully, if people at the city, managers are doing their job, we're following our processes, we're following purchasing, procurement rules and those kind of things. I can tell you there's waste in some of the procurement process we have to follow, but that's state law that requires us to do that. But that's bureaucracy to try to help ensure fairness and help ensure these things that happen, right? But if anybody knows where there's wasteful spending, I'd like to know.
Oh, what should I make with
Call the city manager's office and that's the best answer.
Yes, good morning. First of all, congratulations on your position. But I wanted to also ask, on this, I know that it's been asked, but state funding, I sit on a minority business development board, and a lot of contractors are concerned about contracts that have already been awarded. Would they be able to do something retroactive to take those contracts that have already been awarded?
I don't believe so. There's contracts in place. It's heard all sorts of lawsuits and that would be so messy. I mean they could try, but I don't believe that it would be something that could happen.
So, at the state, do you have people from the city that are advocating to continue the diversity that we've had in Fort Worth when it comes to the funding process?
So I wouldn't say we have people at the state that are advocating for it. What we have is people that are trying to stay on top of it and trying to keep them from making it worse.
Okay, thank you.
The state legislature right now, the bills are not friendly to local government, not friendly to certain areas. And so the people we have down there are trying to keep those things from going forward and getting passed.
Anyone else have any questions? Anyone else have any questions? No? No? Not?
Well, thank you all so very much.
Congratulations, Fort Worth, you got a new city manager. I would be remiss if I didn't recognize some people that are joining us this morning. Obviously, it's very few times that I've been here that we have had a full house, but obviously we have standing room only in full house. I'd like to recognize your school board member, Anael Huevanos. Please take him out. Compadre from Dallas, John Martinez with a Hispanic contractor. Please take him out. Just stand up. Also want to recognize our executive director for the LULAC Educational Service Centers, Mr. Renato de los Santos, who works with all the high schools in the South Area. And next on the agenda is Officer Segura. Hey, you got to know this guy. He's on TV every day. Thank you for being here, brother.
Gracias. Buenos días, good morning. How's everyone doing? Awesome. Let me start off with two phrases. The first one is, we don't want silent victims. No queremos víctimas en silencio. Y quiero que todos ustedes me ayuden a pasar ese mensaje. I need each one of you to help me pass that message along to your communities. We don't want silent victims. Si son víctimas de un delito, queremos que lo reporten. If you are a victim of a crime, we want you to please call it in, make a report. Okay? Are we clear?
Yes.
¿Sí? ¿Me van a ayudar con ese mensaje? Are you going to help me to pass that message? Awesome. Okay. El segundo es, my second message is, we are continuing to serve all our community. Seguimos y continuamos ayudando a toda nuestra comunidad. So please, help me pass those messages out to the community. Ayúdenme, por favor, a pasar esos mensajes con la comunidad. No queremos víctimas en silencio y seguimos y continuaremos sirviendo a toda la comunidad de esta bella ciudad de Fort Worth. We don't want silent victims, and we will continue to help and serve all the community of this amazing city of Fort Worth. So can you help me with that? Yes? Sí? Eso es todo. Muy bien. I passed out some pamphlets, flyers that have our general order policy, because that's one of the questions that we've been asked. What are you guys going to do? What has changed? Nothing has changed. The policy explains exactly how we do or how we handle certain calls in Fort Worth, specifically when we talk about undocumented or foreign persons. So it's all in English, and I don't want to do it in Spanish because I don't want anything to be lost in the translation. La hice toda en inglés porque no quiero que se pierda nada en la traducción. The good thing about this policy is open to the public. Esta política está abierta al público. If you go to our website, fortworthpd.com, just click on General Orders, you'll find it. It's accessible for anyone to see it, to read it, to understand it. Para que toda la gente tiene acceso a esta política, está en nuestro sitio de internet. La pueden leer, la pueden revisar, la pueden imprimir. So we are not hiding anything from anyone. Again, we're here to help, to serve our community members in Fort Worth, and we will continue to do that. Y la póliza está totalmente clara de lo que hacemos. The policy shows and tells you exactly what we do and what we cannot do. So there's no questions about it. Queremos que la gente siga confiando en nosotros. We want and we need the public trust. And this is my other message to the community is the community members from Fort Worth, they are our first line of defense. Because when they see something, they call us. They are our eyes and ears in the community. We need them. And we need to continue gaining their trust, transparency, and openness with PD. Necesitamos a nuestra comunidad porque ellos son los ojos y los oídos de nuestras calles. Es nuestra primera línea de defensa. Y por eso tenemos que continuar construyendo la transparencia, la credibilidad y la confianza. Because we need our community members to be active. We need them to be to trust on us because they are the first line of defense. So we need to have and gain their trust. Entonces, el mensaje de hoy es muy simple. The message for today from the Chief of Police, from the whole department, the Fort Worth Police Department to the community is have us, we need to work and trust each other, get to know our local policy about what we do, what we cannot do, and we need to help each other out. So we're here to serve our community, and again, we do not want silent victims. If they are victims of crime, please call us. No queremos víctimas en silencio. Si son víctimas, por favor, necesitamos que nos llamen. So, I don't know what else to say. I'm here to Q&A. So I'm open for any Q&A. I know we have some other speakers, but thank you for giving me the space, the time of this morning to share those words with you. Gracias por darme el espacio, el tiempo de platicar con ustedes. Sé que hay otras personas que van a hablar, así que se los agradezco de todo corazón. Thank you so much.
Yeah, let's go here.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. But with all due respect, what you said is insulting to the undocumented community. For you to say, for them to stay silent, or for you don't want no silent victims. Where is the message from the mayor of the city? Where is the formal message from the chief of police? Do you know that it's hard with everything that's going on, that for the community to go to an officer to report any crime? That is the number one thing that we've been advocating as an immigrant rights activists. That's something that we've always have said. The first thing is that people are not going to come to, get the services that they need for them to stay safe. Right now, there are people that are stopped working, that they can't go to work anymore because they're afraid. There are students that don't want to go to school because they fear coming home that their parents are not going to be there. I mean, that's fine that you're here to give that message, but fine that you give it to all these people, that message, but we need a whole wide message. We need a unified message from our leadership, not just from you, from our mayor, from our city council, and it goes beyond. But we have a judge, Judge O'Hare, that is an anti-immigrant person. So how is the Fort Worth police going to work with that? How are they going to combat that? I'm sitting here listening to you with everything that's going on. There's officers that are reporting in the state of Texas that are reporting our community members. What trust do we have that you will not do that? How are you going to guarantee that to us?
Okay. I understand your concerns, but again, I am only speaking on behalf of Fort Worth Police. I cannot go above and beyond other cities, but I do understand, what you're talking about. That is why we need to stay in our lane. And I can only speak on behalf of Fort Worth. I cannot go above and beyond to Halton City, Long Richmond Hills, or any other city. I stay and I obey and follow our local policy. That's why I guarantee that our services for Fort Worth community members, it's right here, and it is not going to change. But I do understand your concerns. Thank you.
Officer Segura, you talked about reporting crimes against people. So where would somebody go and report that crime? Do they call a number or the non-emergency line or como?
Definitely. We have many ways of residents to report a crime. They can, nowadays with technology, they can actually do it from the computer at home. They don't have to see a police officer face to face. They can do it online. They can do it with our non-emergency number. Of course, they can always use 911. They can contact their NPO. Fort Worth has an amazing NPO program, which is our neighborhood police officers. We have more than 85 officers assigned to your home areas, to your local areas, where they build that relationship, they trust that officer, they can communicate with that NPO 100% all the time, and we have several ways for citizens to report any type of crime.
Our office is getting calls about potential ICE raids throughout Fort Worth. Are there any confirmed raids that occurred? And if there were, does Fort Worth PD get notified before those things happen?
That's a great question. In my 23 years with the city of Fort Worth, I have not seen a raid in 23 years in Fort Worth. Now, we help, we assist all the federal agencies. We've done it in the past. We do help them if they do notify us. We had a meeting last week where if they were to go out to an apartment complex looking for people that have warrants and they ask for Fort Worth PD help, we're going to help them, but we are limited on the things we can do, such as we're going to help with traffic control. We're going to help with perimeter. But we are very limited because we're not federal agents. I repeat, we are not federal agents. But we do help other agencies. Now, the question came up as well. Well, what if you have an ICE agent and they want you to put that person in the Fort Worth Police unit? It's not going to look nice, right? So we're saying, no. They are task forces that they have resources. Let them bring their resources. Let them use their tools. Again, we're going to assist with very limited responsibilities in those specific tasks. Because we don't want our name or logo or police cars to be mixed in something that is not clear to our community. So we will continue to help and assist other agencies that we are very limited on the things that we can do. That's why we go back to our policy. If you have the time, when you go home today, it's long. There's a lot of words in here. Take a look at it. Please make sure you pass this out to the community members to let them know what Fort Worth Police is doing. Let them understand from writing what we do. Thank you.
On B4, you have a statement that we will not stop people for checking to see if they're illegal. So, will the department accept complaints when they find an officer doing that contrary to the rules of the department?
Yes, that's why. And for those who are familiar with the police department, we come up with policies because someone messed up. So yes, we cannot. If we have an officer that is breaking our policy, we'll go back to this and we will ask that officer, why are you asking immigration questions when it does not fall under our policy? And they will get investigated. And I'll be honest with you. I had a case a few years ago where an officer was going outside of our policy. And we filed a complaint, and that officer is no longer with us. Because we need to stick to our policy. So yes, we cannot stop, detain, question anyone solely based on, well, maybe he or she is undocumented. We cannot do that. It's against our policy. Okay?
Hey, thank you for being here. Just some advice. I don't have a question, but maybe, I don't think there's any undocumented immigrants in this room today. Can you hear me now? Dave, I don't think there's one undocumented immigrant in this building today. We need to get the word out to them because the lady is right. They are scared. Hell, I'm scared. You know, the first time I moved to Snyder, I got pulled over the first 5 nights I was there. So, just for driving a nice car. And it's a fear. Just a recommendation. Can you get a message, public service announcement, and with a safe phone number that they can feel confident to call for any violation, for harassment? I think we need to get the word out to them. And just as some advice that you can do.
Thank you. Now keep in mind, all the media outlets that are, you mentioned, Univision, Telemundo, whoever, all those media outlets it's a business. For them, it's a business. The policy, it's in our website. I don't have to go through a business, which is a media outlet, to deliver my message, when I can use my own social media, Facebook, X, Instagram. But we do need everyone's help to let our community know we have our policy. And yes, we'll use those media outlets to help out, but again, keep in mind, they're a business. And when you do a news package, it's only about 1 minute and 45 seconds. So we're spending here more than 10 minutes talking person to person, and I think that the message will get delivered best when you see a person eye to eye. Listen.
Hello, my name is Nestor Martinez, and I'm president of our Latino law enforcement organization here in Fort Worth. And I can assure you that we, myself and Daniel and other leaders in the police department, we were very careful on creating those policies when it came to serving the community and making sure that we don't have silent victims. We sat down and we wrote it ourselves to make sure that that was never a problem moving into the future. The other thing is too, if you do have concerns that maybe you're not comfortable talking to the police directly, the city of Fort Worth has a police oversight committee that can be that link for you to feel more comfortable and create either those complaints or those investigations that come to us. So understand that there's several safeguards to prevent that one rogue officer in doing that illegal enforcement that everybody's so scared of, right? We understand how important it is to our community. Daniel's absolutely right. We don't want those silent victims because that causes problems for us. Because now we don't know how to address crimes without those first victims. So understand the city of Fort Worth has those safeguards in place. And we did take the time to look at them very carefully to prevent these things in the future. Not only that, the police oversight committee and the police oversight of Fort Worth is very instrumental in keeping these things moving forward.
I guess actually for me, to follow up on him, because that was leading up to my question, because trust is a very fragile thing. All it takes is one officer, and in essence, ruin everything. Like one rogue officer. So what are you doing to make sure that other officers, not just the ones that wrote this policy, are very much aware that this is forbidden?
Yes.
And what are you going to do to make sure that this policy stays in place, even when you have outside pressure to change it?
Yes. Okay. So what I've done in the past week, I hand delivered these pamphlets to each police station in Fort Worth. I've talked to officers person to person, explaining to them our policy. And again, and the previous chief here can attest to this. Every police officer in the city of Fort Worth, they are supposed to know the policy because we sign off when we have new policies. So it's accessible to each officer. So another step that we have done is, I'm doing this. I'm going face to face this weekend. Tomorrow I have 3 large churches that I'm visiting in Fort Worth because I understand the concerns of the community and I want them to hear from me in person. So I'm visiting door to door, grassroots exercises, speaking to our community in person. That's what we're doing, and then of course we're using social media to push out our message. Thank you.
Daniel, I have a question for you. I don't know if one of the things that has really impressed me in Dallas in particular, they have a program now in the high school where kids can actually take criminal justice and firefighting. So in high school, they actually are hooked up with a community college and a university system. So the kids are graduating with up to 60 hours of college work, which qualify them already, except they're not of age to get into an academy. But however, it's having success instead of having to spend a lot of money including for Puerto Rico and elsewhere, Spanish-speaking officers. Spanish-speaking officers, I don't know if you all are doing it. I know that's not your department, but I'm wondering, I'm curious whether you're doing anything like that to recruit more Spanish-speaking in particular and black officers to the.
Yes, the question was about high school students with programs with PD. Yes, we do have a criminal justice program that interacts with our Fort Worth ISD high school students, and they go to our police academy once a week, and they get a criminal program education. Yeah, and then they hopefully our goal is to recruit them as police officers because we already invested on them. We do have that program going on. We have 2 large high schools, but again, it's a program that is going, and we hope that we can extend it more. Again, it takes resources, manpower, but we do have that program, and I believe the first class graduated last year, and we're hoping to get more students from all diversity of the community to come and join that program, which is a criminal justice program. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you everyone for spending some time with me.
Hey, let's do better, man. El mejor vocero en Texas. Right there. Thanks a lot, Dan. Let's hear it for Daniel. One of the core objectives of LULAC has always been education. I don't expect you to know our history, but let me tell you, there were a lot of lawsuits that LULAC had to file against not only the Texas Department of Education, but a lot of school systems. You will recall that in the South they had black but unequal, right? They had those schools separate but unequal for blacks. But they had the same thing for Mexicans. They had the Mexican schools. And I'm sure that here in Fort Worth, they probably had a few like that. But let me tell you that we have one of our own here, Antonio Martinez, who's the principal of Northside High School. And we're proud to have him here. Thank you very much for being with us this morning. He is originally from Fort Worth, and he earned his bachelor's degree from TCU and his master's degree from Texas Women's University. Mr. Martinez not only believes that every child can learn, he believes in encouraging Northside students to continue their education after high school. Keeping busy is not hard for Martinez. If he is not at school, he's enjoying playing golf, attending football games, staying fit, and spending time with his kids, and having breakfast here with us.
Thank you very much. My name is Antonio Martinez again, and I am the principal of the prestigious Northside High School. Thank you. I was asked to speak to you guys a little bit about what happened a couple of weeks ago here in our community and here in our high school, our neighborhood high school. But before I do that, I think it's important for you to know where my passion comes from. I was born and raised here in Northside. My great-grandparents came here from Mexico. Swift and Company was hiring back then, and so it's been over 100 years since my family's been here. The Martinez, and my maiden name is Ayala. Okay, so I'm related to a lot of Ayala Flores family. And I say that because the job that I do each and every day working with kids, teachers, parents, you got to have the passion for it. And like you heard earlier, I was back right when I started college. I graduated from Carter Riverside, but I'm a Northside guy. But it's important to know that I've been in this field for 42 years, educating kids and working with families. You can't do it that long if you don't have the passion for it, okay? And it came to me many years ago when I was in college. I was an art major at North Texas, and TCU, Dr. Travell, she was a Latina, started a bilingual program, okay, trying to recruit Mexicanos, to go to the field of education. Well, for me, I was an artist at mine, and so I decided to, I was driving in North Texas, on that yellow school bus. This is back in the early 70s. And when this scholarship came, I said, you know what? It's something I'd like to maybe get into art education, correct? But this program was specifically for elementary teachers, okay? And so I took the chance to do that. And I started my education at Washington Heights Elementary. Back there in the back, one of my first students was one of my first students, and so I wanted to kind of share that with you. I was able to climb the ladder, and then I became a high school principal, elementary principal first, and then high school principal. So the passion for me, guys, is that I am involved with kids each and every day. So I think in order for me to explain to you what happened, you got to know that part of me. 2 weeks ago, I had a substitute teacher. As you know, substitute teachers come and go. You're out one day, we put a sub in that position. This was a long-term one. This is where a teacher was going to be out longer than a few days, okay? And so, you get a substitute teacher. Well, come to find out that this teacher put on his website or his, what they call that, social media, X, I think it's called. He put on X that they should come to Northside because his class had a lot of Latino students that could not speak English, okay? And so he posted that, and he even put Northside High School. So the word traveled, the word got out. This was last Friday, to be exact. And so I was at the stock show that Friday night, and that's when I got my call. I got the call, and so at that particular time, it was Friday night, Saturday morning, I canceled that job for that substitute teacher. So as of Saturday morning, his job was gone, right? When I say cancel the job, every teacher has a job code number. I canceled it and he was gone. That was my part, right? 4 guys did their job and they carried even further, okay? To suspend him until investigation. So that way he cannot go into any other campuses. Now, as far as I know, that's as far as the information that I've received, that's where it ended. And so, it taught me something. It taught me something. It taught me that there are people out there that you would never guess. You have maybe a colleague, a friend up front. They're a friend. But behind the scenes, you don't know what people are feeling and thinking. And so it taught me that we have people out there that are against us Latinos, okay? And that's no secret. But in my field, when you're dealing with young teenagers, then you gotta listen and understand that portion of it. And so that's exactly what I did. right away, I jumped in and did my part. Now, the district has a communications office. You know, a lot of time people think just because we're principals, we can speak about our campuses or we can speak about any issues that happen. But we have a communications office. There's protocol that I can't just talk to the media. You know, I have to let the district do that. It's kind of like one voice. It keeps us from getting personal about a situation. Because if they had come to me, then I might have said some things that maybe I shouldn't have said. Because once again, we're a district. And there's always two sides to every story, whether it's right or wrong, there's always the two sides. And so that's why the communication office handles all those situations. The Wall Street Journal called me and wanted to interview me on the situation, right? And so my job is to refer to the district, so I gave them the number of our communications office. And so a lot of times people think just because we're principals that we can speak our mind and our thoughts. I can today in this setting because it's a Saturday, okay? And then this is my time. So I can say things that I probably couldn't say, of course, like I shared with you, speaking from the district side. So, you know.
We got presidential immunity.
There's one of my students here too as well. Not my students, so we're colleagues, we work together. So my point, I guess, guys, is that watch. You got to be alert. You got to be. It made me more alert at my campus. I'm more alert in the things that I guess I observe better, knowing the situation that happened. We're always learning. Like I told you, this is my 42nd year, and I'm still learning what to do and what not to do. Okay. Thank you very much. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Principal Martinez, for having our back, for having our students back, and for handling, you know, what you did as best as you could and as fast as you could terminate the teacher. My next question is, will you be filing a complaint against the state for this teacher to have their license revoked, which I think should happen, and I think it takes all of us to file a complaint, a grievance complaint against this teacher, because they should not be allowed ever to teach again in the state of Texas. So that's the question.
I'll comment on that. A substitute teacher, if you have 60 college hours, you don't have a degree, you just have, you know, you may have an associate, you can become a substitute teacher at Fort Worth ISD. Okay, you know, you go through the screening, background checks, and if you qualify for all that, you can become a substitute teacher. A lot of our substitute teachers are kids that are in college. It's a part-time job. It pays a pretty good, you know, daily rate, and so they apply, they come in, and then they start subbing. They go maybe through some training. I think it's a one-day training, maybe two, and then they can become a substitute. So there is no, he does not have any certificates. He does not have anything except 60 college hours, what it takes. So that was a good question. A lot of people don't know that. You know, they're not certified teachers. You know, anybody here with 60 college hours can become a substitute teacher. And if you'd like to, let me know and we can put you to work at Northside. Yes. What is yes?
Does your campus currently offer ethnic studies programs like Mexican American studies or Mexican American history, or African American or other cultural or ethnic studies? And what do you see that the current climate might impact your opportunity to offer those classes?
This is my 15th year at Northside High School. I think it was my second year in. We included Latino studies one semester, and then the second semester is African American studies. Kids can get credit for this, a local credit, and so a lot of our kids do. So as of this day, we have sections of those. So that was a very good question. We brought that in maybe 13 years ago. It wasn't on the books. Kids were asking for it, and so we provided it for them. And the second part of your question was?
In the current climate with DEI at the state level, of course, they are did a lot of things at the higher ed last session, and they're looking at this section impacting the K-12. What do you see that is your community ready to defend the institution of those classes?
You know, it's a good question because as of right now, it wasn't an issue. You know, I mean, you go back even, 3 months, it wasn't even an issue. And now, all of a sudden, it's in our hands. We're having to deal with it. And I look forward to that challenge in my position and also with my colleagues that we can look into it and try to get to the level where, you know, where everyone has that voice that it looks like we're losing. We're losing the voice. And so we're going to have to find a way to get that back. And doing it together is the key. You know, and anyway, thank you, sir. Oh, yes. Mr. Spino.
Hey, Mr. Martinez. I've been reading a lot about rules of engagement with ICE and schools, and my understanding is that they can come to schools to look for a person that they may have to serve papers to. But thinking of high school students, this would probably be the only place where I can see them going after a student who may have a criminal record, or maybe like in some schools you contract cleaners or other people. But I guess what can we do to assuage the fears of our students? Because I don't see them going after students, all right? They may look for students maybe if their parents were deported, but under what guise or premise would you see ICE officials coming to your school? Because we're losing, and I work at a charter school, we're losing attendance because our kids are afraid to go to school because their parents are afraid to send them, and that's reality.
Yes. We've met as principals, we've met on this regard. And what we were given, and not share this with you, it's no secret, you know, we were given access to our lawyers. It's not like that we didn't have it before, but now we have a hotline number. So from the times from 7 to 5, we have access to a hotline number that we can, if they come directly to my door, I can get on the phone. It's a number it's only set to this, and then we can directly call them and then get the support that we need to go forward with the situation. But our job, just like anybody else, as you know, if you come to my campus, you have to go to the front office. There's a procedure, there's a check we have to do, you know, and they're going to have to follow the same as anybody else. And so we'll be able to hold them until we get help or direction on what direction, which way we need to go. So. There's one of my parents.
Thank you for being a great educator. Yes, few of my students all graduated from Northside, and you've always been a great educator. My question is, so what are you implementing anything different to keep our students safe and protected? If, you know, because this was national news, and now we have all these crazy people know where Northside is. Now I feel like they're a target. So are y'all doing anything different to keep our students safe and protect us?
Okay, we talked about this on my campus, and the main thing was that we don't want to make things worse. In other words, I have 100+ teachers and 100 personalities. And so we don't want to get to the point where a teacher is saying something that's not going to help, it's going to make it worse, right? And so it goes back to that one voice type thing that we have. And my teachers, you know, they could have added to my problem. My wife daughter will tell you, you know, I had a rough week, as you would imagine, right? And my teachers could have made things worse. If you think about it, that's 100+. Even if 1%, that's one teacher or so. They could have made the issues even worse, and we could have gone in a different direction. But my staff knew that whenever we chatted, that I shared with them, if a student comes to you, that means they trust you. they're not going to come to you if they don't trust you. They're not going to ask you anything. And so, if they come to you, just make them feel comfortable. And if you need to include the counselors, we have 6 counselors on our campus. Let the counselors in turn help you with that individual. I don't want you to, once again, we don't want to make statements to the classes, and I kind of told my teachers that let me do that. Let administration do that. You just stick with the curriculum, okay? That way you can't get in trouble if you stick with the curriculum. You can't go one way or the other. We toe the line and we stay straight.
One more question over here.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Michelle Gonzalez. I am an activist, a local activist, national activist, and my focus is on abolishing ICE. There have been many districts that have sent out letters home to their kids and the families saying that they will do whatever they can to protect their families. So I think what you're saying and working with law enforcement, working with ICE is not good enough. We need protection, and we need to know that the organizations, that our community, that our high school has, and even elementary, middle school. I've seen detention, I've seen how they have the children in there, I've seen the women. We hear constant reports coming out of hysterectomies for women, of molestation of children. So this is something that we don't want to work with. This is something that we don't want to abide by. And this is something that you, as an official, as a president from Northside, to recognize and understand that. And if we constantly are abiding by these quote-unquote rules that don't necessarily apply to our people, that's not good enough. And I'm holding you accountable. All of us here are holding you accountable. So you need to step it up. And everyone in this place too. We need to do more.
Okay, thank you. Like I mentioned earlier, this is my community as well. I work here, but I also was born here. This is where my roots are, and this is where I chose to be. And so, like you were saying, yes, I'm at that level in my career where I may be able to do things because of my 42 years versus a principal that maybe has only been in it, 5 or 10 years. So I will not hesitate to do what I need to do to protect my kids at Northside High School.
What specific steps or programs are you putting in place in Northside to empower your students, to make them feel that they're not bad guys, that they have a voice, they can speak that?
Really, once again, 2 weeks ago, we were not here, until this happened. And so, we've got some time. I've got a leadership team that we're working together to see what we can do to help support our kids. We do have time through the day where we can do some extended teaching for our kids. And so we're going to take full advantage of that.
Okay, I say that because there was also an incident with Arlington Heights High School. So that was prior to the election.
Yes. And that, of course, is still out there. And again, that's still under investigation. My position at the high school, again, like I shared with you, I'm there to protect my kids. And I know that sometimes it looks like, we're not doing enough. But believe me, that I am doing all that I can in regards to the safety of our kids, no matter if it's on the soccer field or it's in our after school activities or before school. I'm always on alert. So thank you for that. Thank you, guys.
Incidentally, what was the attendance like, Mr. Martinez, on Monday?
600 out.
No, I'm talking about the percent that didn't show up.
Oh, 600 kids were absent, we had 1,000.
Dallas had only 70% show up to school.
Okay, we were about, do the math, that's about
Yeah,
that.
exactly. They, a lot of the school districts had 30% less students show up on Monday because of the scare. You know, so, Dallas has 140,000 students. So, 30% is a big hike. That means that the daily attendance, that's how they get monies that flow into the school system. So this is having an impact. So we need to work on that and make sure this doesn't happen. Because if it continues, it could really hurt the school district, that and the charter schools that are basically bankrupting. It is my pleasure now to invite another Flores to the podium. And Carlos Flores has served a couple of times. This is your third time? And he's running for office. He is involved in the community, serving as a member of All Saints Catholic Church. He holds degrees from the University of Texas at Austin and the University of Texas at Arlington. He's active in various civic roles, including past chair of the Zoning Commission and president of the Northside Neighborhood Association. Professionally, he has worked as an engineer and corporate recruiter. Councilman Flores and his family currently live in the north side, where he enjoys working on the family ranch in his spare time. I bring to you Carlos Flores, State Councilman.
Hector, since he is a guest here, I'd like to go ahead and turn my turn over to Joe Thompson.
Thank you for inviting me here today. First of all, I want to say that I'm not running as a politician. I'm new to this. I'm running as a concerned citizen. I'm not running as a politician. I'm new to this. I'm running as a concerned citizen. My name is Joe Ponson Jr. I've lived in District 2 for about 50 years. My wife, Marlene, have been together since we were teenagers. She's sitting over there, that corner over there, and have been married for 48 years. We have a daughter and a son who passed away almost 5 years ago. 4 grandchildren from the ages of 25 to 30, and 7 great-grandsons from the ages of 5 to 7, and another one on the way, which I'm hoping for a girl this time. I attended I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I did attend Northside High School, but I did not graduate because my wonderful stepfather retired from the Air Force in 1974. In that same year, at the age of 16, I convinced my mother to fill out the application to join the Army. To enter a high school diploma or a GED was required, so I took the GED test and passed. In that same month, I turned 17 and entered the Army. Upon finishing basic training, I was sent to Germany for the entire term and received an honorable discharge upon completion. After being discharged, I attended Terry County College, which was paid for by the military under the GI Bill for my service, and also got a job at the General Motors plant in Arlington. About 2 years at General Motors, we opened a one-sys transmission at 1325th Street. Then left General Motors when business picked up. Shortly thereafter, I received my associate's degree in automotive service technology and took a year of business management classes as well as other related courses. Today, we are going on 48 years in the transmission business. The reason I am running for city council is because after living here in 50 years, for 50 years and being in business for over 45 years in District 2, we have seen a dramatic change. And to me, it's mostly for the worst, especially the last 10 years. Our streets are terrible, which damages our vehicles and costs us a lot of money. We're spending more time in our vehicles due to street congestion, more traffic accidents, and our property taxes have gone through the roof. Also, we believe that our community is getting squeezed out little by little by our current leadership, which seems to be more toward big business and tourism than with our residents and small mom and pop businesses. For example, currently there are plans for apartments on Central Park Boulevard, which the majority, if not all our residents, do not want. How will our district councilman, Carlos Flores, vote? if he votes, how he normally votes, more than likely there will be apartments there against the wishes of our residents. My qualifications for this position are, I'm an Army veteran, a youth volunteer along with my wife for almost 40 years. We were volunteers for the Boys and Girls Club Coming Up program, where we were given extensive training, working with at-risk youth, and I was a gym manager for the Texas Golden Glove Gym, and elected as president of USA Boxing of all of North Texas. Again, I am not running for city council district as a politician, I'm running as a concerned citizen, and I believe my qualifications qualify me for this position. Also, I make no promises, and I will work hard for our residents, first responders, and our small mom and pop businesses. And with that, if anybody have any questions, I'll be glad to answer as best as I can and as honestly as I can.
What position are you running for?
I'm running for Fort City Council District 2, which is Northside, Diamond Hill, Brookside, and I believe Eagle Mountain School District.
You have a question right here.
Good morning. My name is Joanna Cardoza, community advocate. So I have 2 questions for you. My first question is, I'm very concerned about the gentrification going on in the north side, especially the Stockyards area. One of my favorite places to eat, Amy's, is no longer there. She got pushed out because her rent got moved up. What would you do to work with local businesses and to slow down gentrification in the north side? That's my first question. The second question is, we need more people that look like us on city councils to be more vocal. To be more vocal and about issues affecting our communities, our Hispanic communities. I know that your opponent voted not to join the lawsuit against SB4 a couple of years ago. Can you talk about how open you're going to be about being a good voice for our community?
As far as gentrification, I believe that's what's happening right now. We're getting squeezed out. If you notice, years ago, there was a sign that they put up on North Main Street, no cruising from, I guess, 8 to 3 o'clock in the morning. And then the sign moved to Ellis, then to Houston. And right now, the sign is no cruising from 8 to 3, right on Clinton. So they're taking more and more away from the community. And what was the other question?
We need more people more elected people that look like us to be have a louder voice and speak up for our communities when it counts. Your opponent voted against joining the lawsuits against us before a couple years ago. So how loud or how vocal will you be to defend our communities if we are elected?
I will be pretty vocal, and yes, I believe I do look like you. Coming here, people didn't want me to get in a suit. I will not get in a suit. I wore a suit one time when I got out of the Army, and after that, it went in the trash. I just don't feel right. I'm a working man, and I'm for the working person. And another thing, when you think about it, anytime the economy crashes, who's responsible? Is it a man in a suit, or is it a man in working clothes? That's another reason I will not wear a suit. But yes, I will be extremely vocal, and not only that, the people that vote for me, that's however they want me to vote as their representative. That's the way I'm going to vote for our citizens and our small mom and pop businesses. Thanks for your question.
Hello. It takes guts to run, to put your name on, to run as a candidate. My question is, what experience do you have in relationships with, business development, businessmen, corporate? what are you gonna do? What do you think you're gonna do better than what's already been done right now? Because District 2 is a very important part of the city. I mean, we have the Panther Island project, we have all this development going on. I mean, it is a very complex district, and it takes a lot. I mean, it takes a lot to handle it. So, what relationships do you have? What experience that you have in your past that would make you think that you can do better?
As far as corporate, to be honest with you, I really don't know. The small and pop businesses, I think we get the bad end of the deal. If you notice, there's big businesses moving in, they're getting tax incentives, tax abatements, tax breaks, whatever they call it. But you know, small businesses, if you add them all up, we add up all the employees that big businesses have, as well as small businesses, we actually employ more people than big businesses. And we don't get a tax break. We don't get, as far as I know, we don't get no breaks. We get the short end of the stick. But as far as, like I said, corporate, I don't have no experience with it. But I will learn. And I'll learn quick. And there's, I believe, 11 people on the city council. If I'm going to make a serious mistake, I mean, it's not going to pass, because the other people that's going to vote, they're going to vote against it. So, I mean, if you see our streets and our taxes and stuff, you know, what have we got to lose? Our streets are not getting fixed. 8 years ago, Carlos Flores contacted me. I worked on his vehicles when he was a teenager. I worked on his father's vehicles. And he goes, Joe, I need somebody to do the robocalls for my district. And I agreed. And yes, I did the robocalls. I did the robocalls for him. And immediately on him getting elected, I texted him the streets that I had been talking about, because that's what he was running on the platform. And here we are, 8 years later. I asked him about it on Facebook, and he goes, well, report it on my Fort Worth app and give me the paperwork. But I reminded him what he said. I'll get to work on it right away. And here we are, 8 years later. The bad streets that I told him about aren't fixed. They're worse. And I can tell you how damage it does to your vehicle. Probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I rebuilt my old truck. The whole front end with heavy duty parts. And then probably maybe 4.5 years later, my grandson had to borrow the truck. He was backing out the driveway. And I'm just fortunate that the wheel just fell out. And that's all that's due to our streets and stuff. It's costing us money. We have paid some of the highest taxes in the nation, on top of having to repair cars for our streets not being fixed.
Is this your first time attending the Chorizo Menudo meeting?
I've been here. I mean, I was really excited when Carlos first ran.
Is this your first time attending this kind of community meeting?
No, I've been here for, to support Carlos.
Prior.
Yes, I've been here. But I mean, as far as speaking, no.
Joe, another question on the right. You have another question over here.
Thank you for the question.
Again, I want to uplift what the lady said. It takes courage to be able to be running for office, for city council, I mean. But my question is to you, if you were elected and are sitting in that space right now, how can we hold you accountable to your word? Because there's one thing that Carlos is not, and it's not being held accountable. And how are we holding you accountable if you are in this?
Well, as my card that I passed out in that little square in red, it says I make no promises. Because I'm not a politician. The only promise I do make is that I am going to work hard for mainly for the citizens and the first responders and the small mom and pop business. Everything else is secondary. Yes.
Who are the first responders that you're speaking of?
What's that?
Can you tell me who the first responders that you're speaking of? Is that ICE?
No. Our police, our firefighters, because it's my understanding the city has already grown to 250,000 or more people. I don't know if they've hired any more police officers. And I know a lot of police officers because I used to do all their transmission work and stuff. I've met a lot of police officers. This is the first time as officer to do that.
Thanks, Mr. Ponte. We have another speaker here. We're running short on time. Thank you, Mr. Ponte.
Thank you very much for being here, Mr. Ponte. Councilman Carlos Flores.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for being here with Chorizo
Qué
Menudo.
bonito nombre tiene.
But I've been here as consistently as I possibly can, given my time, to Chorizo Menudo. Why? Because this is part of a community event. I've been part of this community and continue to be so ever since the day I was born. And so is my family, 3 generations. My call to serve in this capacity, I'm not playing. I was a professional engineer working for aerospace firms like Lockheed Martin, Parker Hannifin Aerospace, Raytheon, and I had a great career. But then the opportunity came, and I was asked if I would consider running. I thought about it, but I did not think about it alone. I have a family, a wife and 2 children growing up here in this community. One thing that was not mentioned in all that we heard is that besides courage to run this position, it takes sacrifice. And believe me, those sacrifices are profound. I put my career on pause to work in this position full time. And I think most of you know what this position earns. It's not a living wage. That's not the point. This is public service. And I commend my wife for making the sacrifices at home to make it work. Because if I can make it work, I can serve. And this is why I do it. Now, Joe often referred to, I'm not a politician. Well, I agree with that. Nor am I. I'm a public servant. If I was a politician, I would not still be the city councilman. But I choose to be the city councilman because this is where you get the most effect for your community. Now, I want to say something else. When it comes to what the community needs, small businesses are part of the backbone of our local economy. But that's not the only component. Yes, city does occasionally incentivize companies to relocate here. That is, of course, doing business. But the city gets something in return as well. We also specify certain amounts of salaries that those employees are going to earn. We want good earning salaries to provide for our local businesses. Now, I want to just pivot back a little bit to Fort Worth ISD. When that terrible situation came up with the substitute teacher, I know a lot of folks were very upset, and I was upset too. My wife went to Northside. She's an alumnus. I called Principal Martinez, I called the interim superintendent Molinar, and also our school board president, and spoke to them at length. I wanted to know what they were doing. Right, as city council member, we work collaboratively. It's not my position to get ahead of them. Right? First and foremost, this is happening to their school. And that school is in my council district. So I wanted to add my help and my voice to theirs. But I also want to say, what is the city doing? Norma brought up a very good point that I want to touch on. Daniel Segura, our officer, couldn't, rightfully speak on that. But what I do want to say is this. Another person that I spoke to was Mayor Parker. And I told her the same thing. I am concerned. This is going on. This is impacting us now. And we need something produced from the police department that gives guidance to people as to what your rights are under our law. How do we react and how do we protect, our students? Because they're there to learn. And that should not be sidetracked. And I feel strongly about it. I have 2 kids in the Fort Worth Heights. I get it. I'm concerned too as a parent. So from that conversation, what happened? I also talked with our legal department. We are being really overwhelmed with the amount, as a nation, the amount of executive orders that are being produced by the Trump administration. And there's a lot to unpackage there. So our legal team, after speaking with them, is working to interpret what these executive orders are and how we can react to them under the law. We are a nation of laws. And yes, we have to abide by them. But within those laws, we must protect our own. So let me get back to telling you why I'm running for re-election. There's a lot of great momentum that has been built up in the course of years. And it takes years sometimes to realize something from happening. And there are 10 others on city council. And Joe, I'm going to correct you on something. If you think that you depend on others to account for any mistake you make, the decision you make, you got it wrong. You are accountable for your own decisions. And you have to arrive at that. Jeanette, you would agree with me. We make our decisions for the best interests of our council district and city. And those decisions, believe me, are not checked by others. We do that, we do our own due diligence, we study the issue, and we make that vote. Now you say, and you were referring to a project that I do want to talk to you very briefly. You characterize it as apartments. I don't think I saw you at any of the meetings, but I will say this, those are affordable apartments. 9% tax credit, okay? HUD provides those funds to solve the problem that we have across the city, affordable housing. People are getting priced out. That's just the state of the economy. We have to do what we can as council members to provide for that. District 2 is not trailing in that regard. We have gotten some good affordable housing projects in the city. But my record will clearly show, and I'm a former chair of the zoning commission, I have turned down plenty of proposed apartments. On this one, I am still waiting to hear what people want. And aside from maybe 3 people who told me they have concerns, Joe, not one has said they're concerned enough to say no. But what I've been very consistent on, and I've been talking to several residents and also the applicants for this, I need to hear loud and clear what that community wants. And based on that input, I will act accordingly. That's the way I've always done it, and I can defend every decision that I've made, whenever I've made it. My record speaks for itself. Now, I want to touch on something else, public safety. What have we done in that regard? As Nestor Martinez, one of our police officers, pointed out, we're a growing city. We're growing very rapidly, if not the most rapid pace ever. And we've already crested, by some estimates, more than 1 million people. And we have right now sworn officers, 1884 sworn officers. Is that enough? No. So what have we done about that on city council? We've authorized more academy classes, including lateral classes, so that we can, please don't interrupt, man, that's not very appropriate. Okay, you'll have your time to ask any questions. Thank you. So, we're hiring more officers. We have to do it at a pace that the police department can train those officers. We hold those to a high standard. They exceed the standards of the state. What else have we done locally? Here in the north side, I helped bring about the very first bike beat. That's a softer approach to law enforcement. It helps in big, congested areas for their events. So we've done that. We've also doubled the size of the Hope Unit, which takes care of homeless issues. These are measurable things that we've done. The CCPD fund has helped fund much of that, and we continue to rely on that for public safety. We're doing a safety assessment of all our entertainment districts around the city. We're waiting to get results from there. On taxes, I want to talk about that because people forget, I'm a taxpayer too. I don't have an exemption. I get taxed just like the rest of you, and I don't enjoy that at all. I agree. Our taxation is too high, but what have we done about it? Every year that I've been on city council, we've lowered the property tax rate. Every year. And this time, we've even lowered it below the no new revenue rate. We settled on the flat rate. Let me reiterate that. Below the no new revenue rate. There's only so much you can do to lower the tax rate before it begins to negatively affect the public services that all of you expect from your local government. You lower it too much, then you can't do what you have to do. You can't meet your obligations. But we did it, and we were able to get, in addition, an increase in the amount of homestead exemption for seniors 65 and older with disabilities. These are measurable returns. So when I hear we need lower taxes, I agree. And I have the record to show for it. Not just goals, accomplishments. Okay? And going back to our workforce, our local economy. The stock market is a big economic engine. And I mention that because it's here in District 2. It is the most successful entertainment district in the entire city. 2023, $400 million in gross revenue to the local economy. Now we're at 500. How does that translate? How does that help us? That goes into the general fund. The general fund is used for a lot of those public services that we expect and rely on. Okay? As far as streets, we're pouring in more money. As the city grows, our road infrastructure needs grow with it. Many of you have probably traveled along East Lawn. The city's working collaboratively with TxDOT to do a complete redecking of that bridge. I went there 2 nights, 3 non-hours to observe it, to make sure that these things were going according to the contracts and understandings that we had. All right, I'm an engineer, so this is right up my alley. And I agree, we should continue to work on it. Here inside the loop, our needs, for the most part, are to maintain what we have, repair what we have. Outside the loop, where we have these newer areas, that is also showing that we have deficits there. We need new roads. There are 2 sides of the coin, and we're working on it. This past budget cycle, per a suggestion that I raised with the mayor, we were able to add $9 million to a fund called PAYGO Fund, and that's strictly for street maintenance. And Joe referred to the Mike Woodward Act. When I first talked to him about that, his response was, I don't do computers. But I still emphasize to people, if you got a smartphone, I have it loaded here. When I see a problem, I report it on the Mike Woodward App. And that has paid dividends for us because we see an increase in it, to the point where, for example, on potholes, pothole turnaround and repairs reported to the city, we're able to do it in less than 48 hours. We've never been able to achieve that, and now we have, through technology, through innovation, and we're doing the same thing with public safety, like gun detection equipment, which I've been advocating for years. Now I could go on, but if you want for me to explain at any point in time what the city has done to address your concerns, I'm more than happy, I'm more than accessible. You can go to my website, Carlos Flores, fwd2.com, or you can contact my office, 817-392-8802. I'm one of the most accessible council members, and I'm proud of it. So thank you, and I'll stop right now and open it up for questions.
I guess there are 2 issues that have been brought out here that people are concerned about here in the north side, and you mentioned one of them, affordable housing. The other one I heard about was gentrification. So where do you draw the line between gentrification and urban blight? Because like over even in the south side, Campo no se vende, we build more houses, premium taxes, but yet they price other people out, the property taxes go up. So I want to hear about that. And the other one is affordable housing. I have a son, we all have maybe children that we want to have a better life, or maybe even have, land, even in the north side, to buy land is expensive, so we want to build on our houses. There are zoning ordinances. Like, I have a house. I can't build a house unless I have my whole alleyway paid. So how do we make it more affordable or possible for us to build on the land that we own? There's too much government bureaucracy, too many things like that. And yes, y'all have done some things for affordable housing, but we need more. I mean, it's expensive. I'm worried about my son. I'm like, hey man, marry somebody that's wealthy, because it's gonna be expensive for him to buy a house. He wants to be a teacher. Like, marry another professional. Because affordable housing is something real. And then again, with gentrification, that can exacerbate the problem. So where do we draw the line on gentrification and urban blight? Thank you.
Good question. I will say this, my friend. have to strike a balance, and no one proposal or no one situation is the same, right? I'll give you one example. The Panther Island project was mentioned. You're redistricting, and this is not very well known. There were a lot of attempts to take that out of District 2. Behind the scenes, I resisted that. Now, that's a major understatement. Why do they want to take it? Because I think the powers that be recognize that that is going to be the next biggest economic driver for this area. It has always been a part of the north side. And I defended against that, not on my watch. And it didn't happen. Okay? So, from that, originally it was planned to have a lot of high-end residential, right? But we retooled that plan. And in retooling that plan, we put together a stakeholder group. And originally that stakeholder group did not have any north side stakeholders. So I told again, those involved, you need to include it, because if you don't, you're going to hear from me, and it's not going to be pleasant. They included it, to my satisfaction. So in those talks, we tooled that vision, and now it's going to include more mixed-use development, more office space. Yes, some residential, but affordable housing is planned there. We're trying to level the playing field. And in addition, we hired a consulting group to help us with equitable access to what is intended to be built there. So that's one example of how we've done it. We've held workshops at Artes de la Rosa, trying to get public feedback on it, because it's very important to me. I don't want the north side to be co-op.
I have another question over here.
Yeah, you might have mentioned part of what the situation and all the projects over here. When you start talking about the monies that is going to come back down to the community, is it going to be situated? Because I know the building, something needs to happen to the building, because there's nothing but a bunch of vandalism all around my parking there. Every single curb and all that is being vandalized. And probably getting some of the copper and all that. But the plan that y'all are bringing out, are there going to be more meetings? Because if you only had one meeting and then it became effective, we need to have more input as to what are we going to do in the neighborhood that we live in. And if you're going to be just building something for the future as a 5-year plan that we're not going to be able to afford, and we need to know that ahead of time, okay?
I agree. What Lee is referring to when he says, the aforementioned affordable housing department proposal, that's next door to him. So it impacts him directly. Me and I have talked about that. Because it's a tax credit proposal, this is not market rate. What that means is that they're required to follow the state mandated requirements and how many meetings they need to have. They're only required to have 2. Have they had their meetings? Yes, they have. Now, my concern, and I've been very vocal, even in council work session, where I said, these are my concerns. I don't think they've been effectively attended by everyone. So, I'm going to keep repeating that, but what I need to hear from you all is if you have feedback, please contact my council office. I need it. I can't go in there and just make it up or rely on nothing. If it concerns you, if you have certain specific things that you want to see, please let me know.
And we have enough time for one more question before announcements. Okay. What do you have to do with the Tarrant County Appraisal District? What does the city council do? Do they have power over them? Probably not.
As a county entity, we don't hold much sway.
But the reason why I'm saying, because see, your taxes, your forward taxes have really come down on your properties. It's your appraisal that has gone up. And that has nothing to do with city council. It's the Tarrant County Appraisal District. So how many of you out here have gone to go fight for Tarrant County Appraisal District? Yeah, one. The activists. Raise your hands if you've gone. And did they listen to you? No. See, there's where the problem is when they talk about gentrification. Yes, they want your land. I have a little house in the west side of Fort Worth, of the River District. 6 years ago, I was paying $900 a year for that little one-bedroom house. Now, it's $3,700. And I haven't done nothing to it. I actually had my sister-in-law living in it free. And so, $900 to $3,700. That has nothing to do with the city of Fort Worth. It's Tarrant County Appraisal District. There's where your complaints need to go.
Thank you, Carlos. What Carlos is saying is essentially correct. City council, all we can affect, your property tax rate, and again, the aforementioned exemption amount. Tarrant County, after what we did, went ahead and also voted on their measures for property tax relief. What is going on now? What's afterward? The local authorities have done almost all of what we can. We'll continue to do what we can, legislatively speaking. In Austin, we're going to be meeting again, talking with our state, our state elected officials. We're going to try to make it clear to them that we need additional property tax relief. Our city legal department is preparing a legislative package where we're going to make that appeal formally. Many of us are going to go down to Austin to advocate in person. This is something that we do every year. The budget surplus that the state of Texas had at $33 billion, well, that's already getting spent, y'all. There's some left, and it's going to have to come out of that. The alternative to any further property tax relief, and this is going to go to a voter referendum, is getting rid of property taxes. I've heard something that extreme, and then resorting to a state income tax. It's got to have to come out from somewhere. But where I lie on this issue is that we as residents deserve more property tax relief, and like I said, every year I've delivered on that, and I will continue to see where we can continue to deliver on that to the point that it does not adversely affect our commitments to you on public infrastructure. And by the way, some of the streets, and I do remember those streets, Joe, I did do some. And you can go over there and look at A.B. Cato, the improvements there on their crossings, but I will tell you this, we still have a lot of needs. We're a big city. And I'm only one council member with needs. I have to compete against everybody else's needs. But I will say this, during the course of time, especially doing bond packages, the only council member that has gotten two, major work projects on community centers here in District 2. I have one, and that's the one that I've been working on, but it's all done competitively. And I have to put our best foot forward and make the case. And again, I'm the only council member that has brought 2 neighborhood improvement programs to his district. Think about that. Neighborhood improvement programs. You saw it here in the north side. It's happening in Historic Green. We're still going. That gives you more of an influx of $3 million to improve things like public infrastructure, sidewalks, you name it. And it covers even public safety with additional police cameras where the residents tell us that they're seeing upticks in crime. We're doing what we can, we're not done. So we're going to continue to do that. I'm going to continue to be the best advocate for you on city council. And as far as SB4, you'll remember, Norma, I led that charge. And there was a lot of political ill will against it when I did it, but I did it because it was right. And unfortunately, we lost by 1 damn vote. But you got to fight the battles every day, win or lose. And remember, with LULAC's help, who renamed and designated, 183 for Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta.
By the way, on
That was
that one,
collaborative.
you've got Dolores Huerta as a memorial highway, and she's very much alive.
Yes. I talked to the state. That was a state's decision, ma'am. I pointed that out to them, and they said, per their rules, that was the best category.
All right, I'd like to thank all the speakers. For some announcements, I know we have individuals here that are running for office. If you'd like to come up to the mic and announce yourself.